Namaskar. A warm welcome to World News and Indian Perspective on All India Radio. This is Vaibhav Jyotsna Srivastav, and with me is Aditi Lumba, bringing glimpses of the major developments of the day from across the globe. Over the next half an hour, we shall bring you the latest from the world of politics, economy, sports, entertainment, and more. The headlines. International Day of Yoga celebrated across the globe. Prime Minister Narendra Modi launches WHO Yoga app. Record 80 lakh COVID-19 vaccine doses administered so far on the first day of nationwide free vaccination drive. Prime Minister says vaccine remains strongest weapon to fight pandemic. United States announces second tranche of 55 million COVID vaccines towards global efforts to end the pandemic. EU-India joint naval exercise conducted in the Gulf of Aden reaffirmed commitment to free, open, inclusive and rules-based order in the Indo-Pacific region. Prime Minister of Sweden Stefan Löfven loses confidence vote in the Swedish Parliament. Fourth day of Men's Cricket World Test Championship final at Southampton between New Zealand and India washed out. And in Euro Cup football, Ukraine take on Australia, while North Macedonia lock horns with the Netherlands. As the nation gears up for free COVID-19 vaccination campaign and government facilities for those above 18 years from today, we advise our listeners to get vaccinated. We also advise our listeners not to lower their guard as COVID-19 remains a threat to our health. Please stay at home unless it is essential to go out and continue to follow the 4 simple steps. Wear a face mask, maintain 2 gaz ki duri for social distancing, focus on hand and face hygiene, and get vaccinated. For any COVID-related information and guidance, contact national helpline numbers 011 2397 8046 and 1075. And now the news in detail. Prime Minister Narendra Modi on Monday said that yoga remains a ray of hope as the whole world fights the COVID pandemic. Addressing people on the occasion of the 7th International Day of Yoga this morning, Mr. Modi said that the enthusiasm about Yoga Day has not diminished over the past 2 years despite the pandemic.
आप सभी को 7वें अंतर्राष्ट्रीय योग दिवस की बहुत बहुत शुभकामनाएं। आज जब पूरा विश्व कोरोना महामारी का मुकाबला कर रहा है तो योग उम्मीद की एक किरण भी बना हुआ है। 2 वर्ष से दुनिया भर के देशों में और भारत में भले ही बड़ा सार्वजनिक कार्यक्रम आयोजित नहीं हुआ हो, लेकिन योग दिवस के प्रति उत्साह जरा भी कम नहीं हुआ है। कोरोना के बावजूद इस बार की योग दिवस की थीम योगा फॉर वेलनेस ने करोड़ों लोगों में योग के प्रति उत्साह को और भी बढ़ाया है.
Mr. Modi said yoga has laid much emphasis on physical health as well as mental health. He said yoga shows the way from stress to strength and from negativity to creativity. The Prime Minister said yoga has given a way for holistic health and a happier way of life. He exuded confidence that yoga will continue playing its preventive as well as promotive role in the healthcare of masses. Mr. Modi said even medical science today lays emphasis on the healing process besides medical treatment. Mr. Modi said when India proposed the International Day of Yoga in the United Nations, the spirit behind it was to make yoga accessible to the whole world. The Prime Minister said India has taken another important step today in this direction along with the United Nations with the launch of the WHO Yoga app. This app will provide many videos of yoga training and practice based on common yoga protocol in many languages. Terming this as a great example of fusion of modern technology and ancient science, the Prime Minister expressed the hope that Yoga app will help in spreading yoga world over and will contribute to the efforts of One World, One Health. The main theme of the International Day of Yoga 2021 is Yoga for Wellness. Yoga Day is being observed in about 190 countries globally. Lakhs of yoga lovers committed themselves to Yoga Day and performed yoga from the safety of their own homes.
In a letter addressed to Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina of Bangladesh, Prime Minister Narendra Modi said that yoga has an inherent power to connect. He said that yoga is good for community, immunity and unity. He said that the theme of the International Day of Yoga celebration this year reflects the concern for good health and well-being of people across the globe. It is an endeavour to ensure that we focus on fitness as well as wellness, said the Prime Minister. The 7th International Yoga Day was observed in Bangladesh with great enthusiasm across the country. Prasar Bharati special correspondent in Dhaka reports that several events, including online events, were organized in Dhaka and other parts of Bangladesh to mark the occasion. The High Commission of India in Dhaka observed the International Yoga Day by holding a yoga session at the Chancery premises. With strict COVID protocol in place, the High Commissioner of India to Bangladesh, Vikram Doraiswamy, led the employees at the Chancery in Dhaka in doing yoga exercises conducted by yoga teacher Kushal Roy Joy. An event celebrating the 7th International Day of Yoga was held at the Tokyo Skytree in association with the Indian Embassy at Tokyo. The Tokyo Skytree is a broadcasting and observation tower in Sumida. At a height of 634 meters, it is the tallest tower in the world and is one of the most iconic landmarks of Tokyo. On the occasion, Ambassador of India to Japan, Sanjay Kumar Verma said that in the present critical situation of COVID-19 pandemic, yoga can help self-regulate ourselves during times of stress. He said yoga also contributes to the growth, development and peace throughout the world. Japanese dignitaries, including Hakobun Shimomura, member of the House of Representatives LDP and President of Parliamentary League for the Promotion of Yoga, and Ms. Maria Kanaya, awardee of Miss World Japan 2020, were also present. This was followed by a yoga session on the observatory deck of Tokyo Skytree, located at a height of 450 meters above the ground. Social distancing, disinfection and other COVID-19 prevention protocols were observed during the event.
Meanwhile, in South Korea, the Swami Vivekananda Cultural Center of the Embassy of India, Seoul, celebrated the 7th International Day of Yoga IDY celebrations in Seoul by organizing yoga events at Busan University, a foreign students and Gandong-gu office in collaboration with Korea Yoga Association. The embassy kick-started the celebrations by organizing yoga session at the iconic Namsan Seoul Tower last week. Located at the top of Namsan Mountain in the geographical center of the city, the tower is an iconic Seoul landmark that provides bird's-eye view of the city. The yoga event at Seoul Tower was also a part of the embassy's special series under India at 75 celebrations. On the occasion, Ambassador of India to the Republic of Korea, Sri Priya Ranganathan, in her remarks, focused on the importance of yoga, the ancient tradition of wellness and combination of physical, emotional and spiritual well-being. The International Day of Yoga was celebrated in the serene environs of Bhutan. On the occasion, Foreign Minister of Bhutan, Dr. Tandi Dorji, shared a gracious message affirming the usefulness of yoga as an ideal antidote to modern stress and anxiety.
Today, with COVID-19 pandemic, we live a restricted life under the constant fear of infection, which can result in immense stress and anxiety, triggering a host of health problems. Practicing yoga as a lifestyle habit can help improve our physical, spiritual, and mental health. So the theme of today's event, that is, Be with Yoga, Be at Home, could not be more apt. Let us work towards practicing the spirit of yoga every day and not just once a year to bring about positive changes in our lives.
India surpassed all previous landmarks in terms of daily administration of vaccine doses on Monday, with over 80 lakh doses given to beneficiaries of all age groups across the country. So far, around 28 crore, 80 lakh doses of COVID vaccine have been administered in the country. Union Health Ministry said this major feat has been achieved on the first day of the largest free vaccination campaign in the world, which kick-started in the country on Monday. Prime Minister Narendra Modi said that the record-breaking vaccination numbers are gladdening. He added that the vaccine remains our strongest weapon to fight COVID-19. Mr. Modi also congratulated to those who got vaccinated and lauded all the frontline workers working hard to ensure so many citizens got the vaccine. All citizens above the age of 18 can avail free vaccination at any government facility. The centre will buy 75% of the total vaccine production from vaccine manufacturers and give it to the state governments free of cost. No state government will have to spend anything on the vaccine. All vaccination centres, government and private, would provide an on-site registration facilities. Registration on CoWIN app is not mandatory. Speaking to AIR, resident of Delhi, Naresh Saini appreciated the central government's decision to provide free vaccination. He urged everyone to come forward for taking the vaccine.
The decision to provide free COVID vaccine to all the citizens above 18 years by the central government is a welcome step. I support the decision. Vaccine is very important in the fight against the coronavirus disease. I also took the vaccine and I can say from my experience that it is completely safe. I urge all the people to come forward and take the vaccine.
Now let's take a look at the coronavirus updates from around the world. The U.S. has announced the distribution of 55 million of the 80 million doses of America's vaccine supply on Monday. The Biden-Harris administration in a statement said that the second tranche is the remaining part of the 80 million President Biden pledged to allocate by the end of June in service of ending the pandemic globally. The statement added that through the Quad partnership and the International Development Finance Corporation support for vaccine manufacturing, more than 1 billion doses will be produced in Africa and India in 2021 and 22. In UK, leading social media platforms popular with young people, including Snapchat, Reddit, TikTok and YouTube, are supporting the vaccination program by encouraging their users to get coronavirus jabs. All adults aged 18 and over are invited to receive a vaccine in England. Filters and a range of stickers will be available on Snapchat from Monday. Other platforms will host live question and answers with medical experts providing vaccine advice. The UK government in a statement said that the activities supports the NHS Every Vaccination Gives Us Hope campaign. Bangladesh continued to report an upward trend in daily COVID-19 infections, even as the government ramped up its effort to contain the spread of the virus in the country. The country reported 4,636 new cases of coronavirus infection in the country on Monday, which is the highest since April 14, when 5,185 new cases were reported. Land borders of the U.S. with Canada and Mexico will remain closed to non-essential travel until at least July 21st. The U.S. Homeland Security Department said on Sunday. Indonesia has announced that it would tighten mobility restrictions in some areas for 2 weeks starting Tuesday after a rise in COVID-19 cases. This is All India Radio giving you the world news. The centre is disseminating awareness of national helpline numbers for the benefit of citizens during the COVID-19 pandemic. The helpline number of the Health and Family Welfare Ministry is 1075. The child helpline number is 1098. For senior citizens of Delhi, Karnataka, Madhya Pradesh, Rajasthan, Tamil Nadu, Telangana, Uttar Pradesh and Uttarakhand, the helpline number is 14567. The helpline number of National Institute of Mental Health and Neurosciences, NIMHANS, for psychological support is 08046110007. Ayush COVID-19 counselling helpline number is 14443 and MyGov WhatsApp help desk number is 9013151515.
Welcome back. You are listening to the World News on All India Radio. External Affairs Minister of India, Dr. S. Jaishankar, conversed with his Sri Lankan counterpart, Dinesh Gunawardene. In a tweet, Dr. S. Jaishankar said that the two had a good conversation. He added that both they discussed BIMSTEC, IORA and other regional mechanisms. Meanwhile, India expressed hope that Sri Lanka remains mindful of the excellent bilateral relations with India and its maritime security. Speaking to the media, spokesperson for the External Affairs Ministry, Mr. Arindam Bagchi was replying to a question on Beijing's role in the Colombo Port City project last week.
We expect Sri Lanka will remain mindful of our excellent bilateral cooperation, including for mutual security in our shared environment, which includes the maritime domain. As regards our projects, India has a very extensive portfolio of development partnership projects in Sri Lanka, and we are in regular contact with Sri Lankan authorities regarding the implementation of these projects.
India and the European Union conducted a joint naval exercise in the Gulf of Aden. The exercise, conducted on the 18th and 19th of this month, involved Indian Navy frigates INS Trikand, EU NAVFOR Somalia, Operation Atlanta assets, among naval vessels of the other European countries. The exercise was based on the scenario of an anti-piracy operation. In a statement, the EU and India reaffirmed their commitment to a free, open, inclusive and rule-based order in the Indo-Pacific region and the primacy of international law, including the United Nations Convention on Law of the Sea, UNCLOS. The first such exercise was an outcome of the EU-India Joint Dialogue on Maritime Security. The statement added that the EU and India intend to boost maritime domain awareness in the Indo-Pacific through mutual coordination and exchanges. The EU and India reaffirmed their interest to enhance their cooperation in the field of maritime security in the Indo-Pacific region.
Prime Minister of Sweden, Stefan Löfven, Sweden lost a confidence vote in the Swedish parliament on Monday. Mr. Löfven, Social Democrat leader, has a week to resign and hand the Speaker the job of finding a new government or call a snap election. The Nationalist Sweden Democrats had called the confidence vote after the formerly Communist Left Party withdrew support for the centre-left government over a plan to ease rent controls for new-build apartments. The no confidence motion, which required 175 votes in the 349-seat parliament to pass, was supported by 181 lawmakers, according to reports. Mr. Löfven is the first Swedish Prime Minister to be ousted by a no confidence motion put forward by the opposition. The new government or a caretaker administration would sit until the parliamentary election, which is scheduled for September next year. Armenia's acting Prime Minister, Nikol Pashinyan, won a snap parliamentary election held in the country on Sunday. According to reports, the Electoral Commission said that Nikol Pashinyan's party won 53.92% of the votes cast. An alliance led by his rival Robert Kocharyan came second with 21%. The elections were called for by Pashinyan in a bid to resolve public anger over the peace deal he signed in November. The agreement came after months of tensions over last year's defeat in fighting against Azerbaijan over the separatist region of Nagorno-Karabakh. The Moscow-brokered agreement ended 6 weeks of fighting between Armenian and Azerbaijan forces. However, it fueled discontentment among Armenians as Azerbaijan reclaimed control over large parts of Nagorno-Karabakh and surrounding areas. These areas had been held by Armenian forces for more than a quarter century.
Iran's sole nuclear power plant went into temporary emergency shutdown. According to reports, an official from the state electric company Tavanir said that the Bushehr plant shutdown began on Saturday and will last for 3 to 4 days. This is the first time Iran has reported an emergency shutdown of the plant located in the southern port city of Bushehr. It went online in 2011 with help from Russia. In March this year, nuclear official Mahmoud Jafari said the plant could stop working since Iran cannot procure parts and equipment for it from Russia due to the banking sanctions imposed by the United States in 2018. Bushehr is fueled by uranium produced in Russia, and it is monitored by the United Nations International Atomic Energy Agency. Meanwhile, Israel's Prime Minister Naftali Bennett has called on the United States and its allies to wake up to the threat of Iran as talks continue to revive the 2015 JCPOA to limit the country's nuclear program. Negotiators from the P5+1 countries and Iran have been holding talks since April to revive the deal, which saw Iran limit its nuclear activities in return for sanctions relief. The countries gathered for a sixth round of indirect talks between the United States and Iran in Vienna on Monday, but adjourned for the delegates to return to their capitals, according to reports. Iranian Deputy Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi told state television the parties were now closer than ever to a deal, but added that bridging the remaining distance between them was not an easy job. U.S. National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan said there was still a fair distance to travel on issues including sanctions and on the commitments Iran needed to make.
Meanwhile, U.S. President Joe Biden plans to host Israel's President Reuven Rivlin at the White House on 28th of June. White House spokeswoman Jan Psaki said in a statement on Saturday that President Rivlin's visit will highlight the enduring partnership between the United States and Israel and the deep ties between governments and people of both the countries. Rivlin will visit shortly before he is due to end his 7-year term in July. U.S. President Joe Biden will meet the Afghan President Ashraf Ghani and the chairman of Afghanistan's High Council for National Reconciliation, Abdullah Abdullah, at the White House on Friday. White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki said in a statement on Monday, said that President Biden looks forward to welcoming both the leaders on 25th of June. The statement said the visit by President Ghani and Dr. Abdullah will highlight the enduring partnership between the United States and Afghanistan as the military drawdown continues.
A head of state of the Economic Community of Western African Nations, ECOWAS, have adopted a new roadmap to launch a single currency in 2027. President of ECOWAS Commission, Jean-Claude Cassibrau, made the announcement after a summit of leaders in Ghana on Saturday. The countries hope a single currency will help to boost trade and economic growth. Previous plans to establish a single currency were derailed by the coronavirus pandemic.
India received $64 billion in foreign direct investment in 2020, the fifth largest recipient of inflows in the world, according to a UN report. The report said in India, foreign direct investment increased 27% to $64 billion in 2020 from $51 billion in 2019, pushed up by acquisitions in the information and communication technology industry. The World Investment Report 2021 by the UN Conference on Trade and Development released today said global foreign direct investment flows have been severely hit by the pandemic and they plunged 35% in 2020 to $1 trillion from $1.5 trillion the previous year. And now a report from the business world.
At the stock markets, after recovering all its early losses, the Sensex at the Bombay Stock Exchange rose 230 points or 0.4% to trade at 52,574. Nifty at the National Stock Exchange climbed 63 points or 0.4% to 15,747. Among the global markets, key indices in Asia Pacific ended mostly higher. So Japan's Nikkei 225 index slumped 3.3%, Hong Kong's Hang Seng index slipped 1.1%, and South Korea's Kospi index and Singapore's Straits Times index dropped 0.8% each. But China's Shanghai Composite index ended with marginal gains. In Europe, key indices London's FTSE 100 and France's CAC 40 had 0.2% each, and Germany's DAX had risen 0.7% in intraday trade. Global crude oil prices stayed firm today, so Brent crude for August gained 2 cents to trade at $73.53 a barrel. U.S. crude futures for July rose 9 cents to $71.73 a barrel. Back home, gold rose 250 rupees to 46,277 rupees per 10 grams at Delhi's bullion market today on global cues. Silver climbed 258 rupees to 66,842 rupees per kilo. And at the forex market, the rupee weakened 24 paise to 74 rupees and 10 paise against the US dollar. This is Lalema Aneja Dang for World News, All India Radio.
And moving on to sports, in Euro 2020 football, Austria were a goal up against Ukraine at the half-time. Baumgartner scored for Austria, and the other Group C encounter, Memphis Depay, scored for Netherlands to give them a 1-0 lead over North Macedonia at half-time when reports last came in. At the Copa America, Venezuela drew 2-2 with Ecuador, while Peru beat Colombia 2-1. Argentina will take on Paraguay, while Uruguay clash against Chile in matches later tonight. In the Men's Cricket World Test Championship final at Southampton, the fourth day's play between New Zealand and India was washed out completely due to rain without a ball being bowled. At the draw of stumps on Sunday, New Zealand were 101 for 2 in their first innings in response to India's 217. Captain Kane Williamson and Ross Taylor were at the crease. For India, Ravichandran Ashwin and Ishant Sharma scarfed 1 wicket each. With 31 days remaining for the start of the Tokyo Olympics, All India Radio brings a special series on India's medal prospects at the sporting extravaganza. Today we will talk about India's contender in Judo, Sushila Devi.
Judo was first included in the Summer Olympic Games at the 1964 Games in Tokyo. Women judoka were first awarded medals at the 1992 Summer Olympics. Sushila from Manipur is the first Indian woman qualified for Olympic in 48 kg category. In an exclusive interview with AIR News, Sushila expresses her reaction on earning a spot at the Tokyo Olympics.
सर मेरे को ऐसे विश्वास ही नहीं हो रहा था कि आज जो मेरे सपने हैं पूरा हो गए और बहुत खुशी हुई सर, बता नहीं सकते कितना खुशी हुआ.
The government of India's top scheme supported Sushila in her preparation.
मैं पूरा टॉप टीम को और साई को मैं थैंक यू कहना चाहूँगा.
Presently, Sushila is in France for the final leg of her training before the Olympics. She is of the belief one must be fearless in their actions.
सर मैं सबको ये कहना चाहती हूँ, सब जुडोकास को, कि कभी भी कुछ भी करें हम दिल से करना है और किसी से भी डरना नहीं है.
The entire country comes together in wishing that Sushila makes a giant leap to the top of the podium at the Tokyo Olympics. Siddharth Singh, Sports Desk.
Now let us take a look at the major developments around the world as reported in the foreign press. Washington Post writes that recovering U.S. economy is drastically changed and it's not going back. Wall Street Journal reports that Ethiopia's Nobel Prize-winning leader faces election as war rages in Tigray. Wall Street Journal also writes that Hong Kong's Apple Daily considers closing unless government releases funds. The New York Times reports that Belarus faces expanded EU sanctions. The Guardian reports that EU prepares to cut amount of British TV and film shown post-Brexit. The Globe and Mail writes that John Ram becomes first Spaniard to win the US Open. And Gulf Times reports that Armenia inaugurates Qatar Economic Forum in cooperation with Bloomberg. World Music Day is being celebrated around the world along the International Day of Yoga today. World Music Day was first celebrated in France in 1982. The aim was to celebrate a day with free and live music everywhere from streets to gardens. It is celebrated on the summer solstice every year. For tons of music lovers around the world, this is a special day as it honors musicians around the world. Ladakh is a hub of herbal wealth in Trans-Himalayan region. Most of these wild herbs are important component in traditional health and wellness system of medicine, Sowa Rigpa. Union Territory Ladakh is taking several measures to preserve herbs from extinction and promote it for socio-economic development of the society. A special story on the occasion of AIR Leh Golden Jubilee on 25th of this month.
Research and development of herbal wealth has been ramped up in Ladakh. National Research Institute for Sowa Rigpa has found 1,000 species of herbs in Ladakh. Out of these, 525 species have been identified as either medicinal or with aromatic values. UT administration is in the process of establishment of State Medicinal Plant Board for promotion of medicinal plant in Ladakh. Various promotional projects worth 2 crore rupees are in the pipeline for execution in next 2 years.
Now a quick look at the headlines once again. International Day of Yoga celebrated across the globe. Prime Minister Narendra Modi launches WHO M-Yoga app. Record 80 lakh COVID-19 vaccine doses administered so far. On the first day of the nationwide free vaccination drive, Prime Minister says vaccine remains strongest weapon to fight pandemic. United States announced a second tranche of 55 million COVID vaccines towards global efforts to end the pandemic. EU-India joint naval exercise conducted in the Gulf of Aden reaffirmed commitment to free, open, inclusive and rules-based order in the Indo-Pacific region. Prime Minister of Sweden, Stefan Löfven, loses confidence vote in the Swedish parliament. Fourth day of men's cricket test championship final at Southampton between New Zealand and India washed out, and in Euro Cup football, Ukraine take on Australia, while North Macedonia lock horns with Netherlands. India celebrating the 151st birth anniversary of Mahatma Gandhi. Before we end, let us listen to his favorite bhajan, Vaishnav Jan, by artists from South Korea.
वैष्णव जन तू तेहने कहिए दे पीर पराई तने रहे पर तू के उपकार कर तू ये मन अभिमान नहाने रहे वैष्णव जन तू तेहने कहिए दे पीर पराई.
And with that, we end this bulletin. We'll be back at the same time tomorrow with the next edition of World News.